Hey church, and welcome to this week's small group. Now this last week we asked the question, how can we be unified in the church when we're so different? The answer being that our unity is found in the gospel of Jesus Christ. You know, exploring the world can be fun, but it's also comforting to come home too, isn't it? To be with people who are like you, who have the same ideas and thoughts as you. But you know, God's plan for us is not for our comfort or familiarity. But instead, God's plan is to reach through diversity to bring the gospel to this world. So what are the social, political, and cultural barriers that divide people in this world? And what are some truths or experiences that have helped you realize God's global love for the nations? You know what's frustrating in Miami? Sometimes you just want a good cup of café con leche. But it really depends on the person who's making it. Have you ever noticed that? Sometimes it is the most heavenly tasting coffee on the face of the planet. And other times it is so completely unsatisfying you just want to throw it in the garbage. Yeah, that's why Starbucks has become so successful. They consistently make their coffee taste the same no matter where you are, whether you're in Miami or if you're halfway around the world. You know, whether you like Starbucks or not, you know what taste to expect when you buy their coffee. You know, as Christians, we should have a similar taste to the world no matter where we go. So in what ways have you tasted Christ in your interactions with others? And what are some of the common tastes that the world should experience when they interact with different Christians across the globe? So today we will be studying from the book of James. James is the biological half-brother of Jesus through Jesus' mother Mary. The book of James reminds us to strive for holiness. To be holy means to be set apart for the glory of God. But this doesn't mean that God wants us to separate from people and hang out with people that we are most comfortable with. In fact, God has called us to include people who are different from us. People who make us uncomfortable. He has called us to be set apart as we interact with the world. Read James chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. What forms of favoritism do you see in the world? And how did the favoritism that James mentions misrepresent the gospel of Jesus? A follow-up question, how does showing favoritism in our interactions with people detract from the glory due to Jesus? And here's the advanced question for this week. Again, you can skip over it if you like. How is God showing favor to sinners different from the way we may show favoritism to certain types of people? Before you read these next few verses, let me be very clear. God does not show favoritism to the poor, neither does He hate the rich. That's what some people think when they read these passages. But the truth is that God doesn't favor the poor, but it is those who are poor in spirit that realize their need for God. God doesn't hate the rich, but He does hate it when the rich take advantage of the poor. So read James chapter 2, verses 5 through 7. What are some ways we might be tempted to act and think according to the world's values instead of the gospel's values? And how can we reflect the upside-down nature of God's kingdom in the world today? Now, I'm going to give you a whole advanced option right now. You don't have to do this, but I want to encourage you to try it. Google the difference between a theologian of the cross and a theologian of glory with the quotations. and click on the link from thegospelcoalition.org. Read that in your small group. And then ask these questions. How does Martin Luther's notion of a theologian of the cross speak against favoritism? How does being a theologian of the cross, rather than a theologian of glory, apply to the way a local church presents itself to the outside world? And what are some specific ways that we can live like theologians of the cross in the way that we treat other people? Next, I want you to read James chapter 2, verses 8 through 13. Why can it be so difficult to treat others with mercy? And what is James trying to do in our lives by talking about the law, judgment, and mercy? So James is trying to show us how important mercy is. Above judgment, above the law, mercy is what's most important. What should our present decisions and actions be in light of our future expectation of mercy as Christians found in Jesus Christ? And how should our future expectation of mercy as Christians in Jesus Christ affect the way that we act towards people today? Next, I want you to close in prayer. Ask God to use the cross to both humble us and to unify us as a church. Remember, our unity is found in the gospel of Jesus Christ. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Sunday. Make sure to invite somebody to your small group for the blood drive next Sunday.